It seems like just about every single day, day in and day out, you're getting rammed with nothing but COVID-19 information. Something going on in the pandemic. The death tolls are rising. More people are getting sick. More people are not wearing their masks outside, etc., etc. There's always something bad going on. And there's just never seems to be any sort of good news. This pandemic has been in motion for a couple of months now. And, it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon, unfortunately. But there finally is some good news. Viagra is the answer, everyone. Viagra will not only make your pee-pee go up, but it will also make your COVID-19 immunity go up. The wonderful company that made our favorite Viagra pill, Pfizer, has come out and partnered with a German pharmaceutical company by the name of BioNTech, and they have both joined hands to work on a COVID-19 vaccine. And they've been doing this for the past couple of weeks now, folks. And the research that they have come out with is astounding. They said that their vaccine that they have created is 90% more effective than any other vaccine on the market to this day. That is insane. But don't get super excited, folks. Don't have blood rushing to your private parts because this is just early data, unfortunately. But nonetheless, it's still wonderful news. The way that this was conducted was Pfizer had gotten a certain amount of test samples from people, 32 to be exact, and they had tried to give a couple of them a placebo and then the other couple the actual vaccine. And from those cases is when they determined that this new vaccine was 90% more effective than any other vaccine created in the past couple months. Unfortunately, they have to stay in line with the FDA, so they can't just do an emergency authorization to distribute the vaccine until they reach a specific milestone when half of the patients in their study have been observed for any safety issues for at least 2 months. After the second dose, that is. So they still have that window that they have to wait for. But like I said, this has already been in progress for a couple of weeks now. And Pfizer and BioNTech, they speculate that by the third week of November, they'll probably have this data to go off of, which really bodes well for us being able to get a handle on this epidemic and get us the hell out of this situation. But with testing, there comes key information that's just not present at this current time. Unfortunately, they don't have the information that shows whether or not this vaccine prevents severe cases of the COVID, and it really only prevents COVID from happening. They don't know whether or not it'll remove COVID entirely from an individual, which kind of sucks in my opinion, because that's kind of what we need right now. And they realize these implications. They know that people are enthusiastic for the vaccine and they don't want to put us down, but they have to be realistic with this sort of stuff. Science doesn't happen overnight. It's a very slow progress, and they have to make sure that they have the maximum impact on this vaccine to make sure that it works for as many people as they can to prevent any illness and possibly death in the future. And some of you may be saying, well, I don't care if Pfizer makes a new Viagra pill that gets rid of COVID. I'm not going to put anything in my bloodstream. And I totally get that. I understand it. I would be skeptic too if a new, vaccine was provided by the government. But since this is provided by a third party, these guys aren't given government money by any means. They decide to spit their own money on the table and work with it, which is super commendable in my opinion. There are already tons of pharmaceutical companies that have been given funds by the government to conduct research and build us a new vaccine. But, we haven't really come any close to finding that vaccine just yet. But here is this third party Viagra producing company who says, you know what, we're going to do this on our own. And they took the helm, and here they are almost providing us with a proper vaccine. But it's not ready yet. They said that maybe in 2 months they'll come back with more data as the more severe cases tend to be ironed out, and they look at some of the issues and some of the side effects that come with the vaccine, such as fevers and aches. However, they do say that it's pretty dang similar to just getting a regular flu shot and having some side effects from that, which is not all too bad. And again, this is a third-party company, so much of its research hasn't really been oversighted by any peers or anything like that, so they still have to go through all that sort of stuff. There's still the whole notion of how many doses can be provided in time for the end of the year, which they say is about 50 million if they get it done quick. They can do 50 million doses by the end of this year, and then they speculate they can make about 1.3 billion doses by the end of 2021, which is a lot of doses. And it makes sense that they would want to do a lot because, again, they are a third-party company, which means there's a lot of money to be made on the COVID vaccine. I'm going to ask you a question right now. Why do you think people are making this vaccine right now? Do you think they're doing it for the goodness out of their own heart, here in America at least? No. A ton of these companies, they're making the vaccine because they want the cash. Whoever makes the vaccine, the proper vaccine, is going to be the one to own the pharmaceutical market. As terrible as it sounds, that's just how it works here in America. Capitalism at its finest. So whoever, again, develops this vaccine is going to make a shit ton of money. So that's why there is literally a race for the vaccine at the moment. Whoever makes it, any country, will get a shit ton of money. You know what's really funny though? When this company was providing its study, it didn't really anticipate to find too much information out of their study. But fortunately for them, or unfortunately for them, there were volunteers who actually had an abundance of COVID. They had started with only 32 volunteers, but the further they went into their studies, the more COVID was spread within their own facility, and thus that gave them more samples to go off of. How do you get that? Like, isn't that insane? They had a stable situation that they wanted to keep a hold of, and if they had just stayed within that 32 volunteer mark, they wouldn't have gotten as much data as they would have now if it wasn't for the COVID affecting their own workplace. That's just funny. And it blew up from 32 cases to 164 that they had in front of them to work off of. That's incredible. That is just insane. That's just funny how things work out like that sometimes, huh? As of today, the study has grown up to 43,000 volunteers, and about 38,000 of those people have already received their second dose. So from here on, it's really just the waiting game to see what the results are, and then if it's good, they'll produce a lot of it. They're going to mass produce, and then maybe we'll get a vaccine by the end of this year. Who knows? I don't want to be super enthusiastic about this stuff because, that it just feels like a lot of that sort of stuff happens in movies and in fairy tales. So I'm going to stay realistic, but, have some hope that we will get out of this soon. As the CEO of Pfizer says, the results mark a great day for science and humanity, and everything seems to be looking up from here on. Don't forget to like this video, share it to your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't for future content similar to this. I hope that this brings back good results. I'm super excited for it. I'm hoping that it does well, and we'll get out of this pretty soon. I'll see you guys later. I'm sorry that this wasn't too funny. This was kind of an important topic that I really wanted to touch on, and that didn't really seem like the place to make a ton of jokes besides the boner stuff, which I think is hilarious that our saviors are literally gonna be the guys that made us a boner pill. Anyways, see ya. Bye.